Director of Case Advocacy and Youth Engagement at Kentucky Youth Advocates. First, as a Louvillian and grandfather, I thank COSER Charities for leading this community in the challenge to eradicate child abuse by 2023. Every day, COSER Charities is there when it comes to kids. The key to eliminating child abuse in Louisville takes the commitment and involvement of everyone. That includes preachers, pediatricians, educators, parents, nonprofit professionals, early childhood providers, and many others. That includes you, and it includes me. It is tempting and frankly a lot easier to think that fighting child abuse is someone else's job. As a staff member or volunteer at a youth-serving agency, you face an array of demands, whether that is a new program, a need from a parent, or increasing financial pressures on your agency. I also know you likely take daily steps to protect the youth involved in your program. Part of that protection of youth means making sure you know how to recognize and report suspected child abuse and neglect. Every day you see children who place their trust in you. So I'm asking you to reach down deep, think creatively, and place ending child abuse at the top of your professional commitments. Can there be any more truer way to honor our professional code of ethics?
I'm Jennifer Helgeson, President and CEO of Boys and Girls Clubs of Kentuckiana. As the head of an agency that serves nearly 4,000 youth each year, I understand the importance of hiring quality staff that will ensure the safety of children and youth in our programs. In addition, I know our staff need to have knowledge on how to recognize and report child abuse so that we can fulfill our role as mandated reporters and help end child abuse. As a member of the COSER Charities Face It movement to end child abuse, I value the opportunity to work with several other organizations, all with a common goal: to keep kids safe. If you lead an agency that directly works with youth, I encourage you to adopt policies and practices that will ensure the safety of children in your care and train your staff on how to recognize and report child abuse and neglect. If you work directly with youth, take time to educate yourself on the warning signs of child abuse and neglect. Keep watching for more information. We can all be the face that ends child abuse, and organizations that serve children and youth in our community have a major role to play in this effort.
My name is Dr. Melissa Curry. I'm a child abuse pediatrician, medical director, and chief of the COSER Charities Division of Pediatric Forensic Medicine at University of Louisville. Child maltreatment occurs in all ethnic, social, and economic groups. It can and does happen in nice families. Photographs are really important, especially for child abuse pediatricians and investigators. So, when possible, help facilitate photographs being taken. DCBS is called the Department of Community-Based Services. That's what we call Child Protective Services, or CPS, here in Kentucky. For the rest of the presentation, I'll be referring to that state organization as CPS. We'll start out by saying a few words about bruises or contusions. These are the most commonly missed early warning signs of abuse, but they're also the most easily recognizable if we know what to watch for. It's very rare for a child to be seriously injured or killed the first time that they're abused. It tends to be an escalation of violence over time. So it's important for us to recognize these early warning signs to keep them safe. There are some photographs in the remainder of the presentation that may be disturbing to some viewers. The 10-4 bruising rule can be a helpful tool in distinguishing when to be concerned about bruises that we see in children. Although the rule pertains to children under 4 years of age, many pieces of it can be extrapolated to older children. Essentially, any bruising to the torso, ears, or neck in a child under 4 years of age, or any bruising anywhere in a child under 4 months of age, is concerning and warrants a thorough investigation. In most cases, this is going to mean a report to Child Protective Services. Here are some examples of ear bruising. As you can see, the bruises can occur on any part of the ear. They can be various different colors, and they can be numerous or they can be few in number. These are examples of neck bruising. Neck bruising is never normal, especially in children, and needs to be taken very seriously. When it comes to determining what is normal in children, it's important to know that research shows us children tend to bruise on the front sides of their body over what we call bony prominences. These are areas where there's skin right over the top of bone without a lot of fatty padding. So what that ends up meaning is that kids get a lot of bruises on their foreheads, their elbows, and then mostly their knees and their shins. One myth that's commonly perpetuated in the media and in other places is that we can date bruises according to their color. This is really not possible. So if we're in a position of describing bruises that we see on a child, it's important not to attempt to say whether they're old or new. It's better just to describe their color and their location and their shape. This is an example of a common patterned injury that we see in children. Although this child was brought to the emergency department with the history of having run into the wall, the doctor noticed very quickly that this was stripe-like bruising, and when we see bruising in a stripe-like pattern, we need to think about a slap mark. This diagram shows us how slap marks come to have that striped pattern. We actually see bruises in the spaces between the fingers. We get a negative impression of the object that strikes the face. These are examples of loop marks. This is another very common pattern injury, and these can be seen on any part of the body. Loop marks are caused by any thin, flexible object that can conform to the contours of the body when a child is essentially whipped with it. That can include electrical cords, phone cords, wire coat hangers, the handles of fly swatters, and a variety of other objects. And as you can see for the child in the bottom picture, his assault was so severe that it actually took off the first few layers of his skin, so these can be serious injuries. It's important to understand that physical punishment, although legal, and that means spanking and other forms of physical punishment, we are not allowed legally to injure children in the process. So anytime we see bruising or any other injury as a result of physical punishment, that has crossed the line and requires us to report to Child Protective Services. There are many contributors to child maltreatment, and many of them are listed here. In both Kentucky and in most of the other states in America, the top predictors of abusive fatal injury in children are domestic violence, criminal history, substance abuse, and undiagnosed or untreated mental illness. The one thing that we tend to see over and over, however, in families in which child physical abuse occurs is unrealistic expectations for the child's developmental level. So to the degree that all of us can help families understand what children are capable of doing at particular ages, we can help prevent child maltreatment. There also is research that shows us that we do tend to overlook child maltreatment in certain groups, and that includes Caucasian families, those who are considered to be, quote, intact. That means the mother and father are living together in the home with the child, middle class, well-educated families, and essentially families that we perceive to be similar to our own. When it comes to talking to children, it's really important for us to let them know that we care about them and that we are available for them to talk to if they ever have anything they want to tell us. Sometimes children aren't willing or even able to talk about what has happened to them the first time someone approaches them about it. This is one of the most powerful tools we have, both in early recognition of child maltreatment but also promoting resiliency. When it comes to youth-serving organizations, there are things that we can do to help keep children safe within our programs and to protect our staff as well. Background checks on all employees and volunteers, for instance, minimizing or eliminating opportunities for children to be alone one-on-one with older children, teens, and adults. Having glass in doorways and in the walls so that we can see children regardless of what room they're in or what space, and utilizing the buddy system, having children travel in twos at least, decreases the chance that they could be exposed to a predator. When it comes to reporting, the law in Kentucky is that all of us are mandated to report to Child Protective Services anytime we have a reasonable suspicion that child maltreatment may have occurred. And the number for this reporting is on your screen. When it comes to reporting, it can be very, very helpful to be very specific about the details of what we're seeing in the child and why that concerns us. Although we're allowed to report anonymously, it's usually best if we don't do that because Child Protective Services often needs to contact the reporting source to ask follow-up questions. If you're worried for the child's life, be sure to say so, and if you happen to know that they have younger siblings at home, that can be helpful to tell Child Protective Services as well. Take-home messages from this section include remembering the 10-4 bruising rule, asking open-ended, non-leading questions of children, and being supportive and letting them know that we care and that we're available if they ever want to talk. Minimizing opportunities in youth-serving organizations for children to be isolated in one-on-one situations with older teens or adults, and remembering to report anytime we have a suspicion of child maltreatment.